Hello guys, and welcome to the next tutorial in which we will talk about what this all mean um, right here in our first program that we wrote. Before we do that, I'm gonna delete this um, middle line, the last line that we typed. I left the code from the previous example. So as you can see, there's two different sections. Right here, there's one section we can kind of press open and close each of them. And these are two sections, okay? So this is our actual program section, and let me just give you that analogy before I continue, so you guys don't get confused. So you know how um, when you were in like elementary school in the beginning, and they uh, tell you when you start learning numbers, and they tell you that you can't subtract a 5 from 3 because it becomes a negative number, but they don't tell you the negative number, so they tell you can't subtract. And then later when you get to like fourth grade, I believe, they tell you like, oh, you can subtract. It's it becomes a negative 2, and then but they still teach you how you cannot divide anything by 0, right? And then later you get into calculus, and then they tell you, oh, you can divide by 0, and divided by 0 creates this infinity, right? This huge number. And it's like, what the heck? And so basically, they teach us not really the wrong thing, but they're just not exactly telling us the whole truth about it, because it just doesn't, it wouldn't make sense to tell, in the first grade about infinity, right? So this is kind of the same thing. When you look at this program, I'm going to try to explain as in the simplest way possible what these things mean, okay? And later on we will learn about every single one of them, and they will completely make sense. Okay, so let's think about this. Our code, when we put right here in the main, this is where our code starts, okay? And let's think of this as our kind of like an address location, and this is like our house, and this would be our city, and this would be our state or a region, and this would be our country. And so basically, we exist in our little houses right here, okay? So when we created another statement, it would be just basically another house, but it would be still on the same street, okay? So that's kind of obviously really doesn't make still maybe no sense to you, but what I want to say is that when the program that we created gave it a name, we created our own country. How about that? Okay, and so this is the name that we created. This is created for us automatically, and so is this. We did not choose. So this was actually chosen, but the structure existed, okay? And so we chose this name, and then after this it created this class, and then this created this function or method, and it's called main. So every time when you create a new project, it will create this with our name on there, and then it will create this, and main, and it brings us right here. This is where our code starts every time, okay? So this is where we're gonna be sitting, okay? And later we'll be able to create different classes, and they will sit outside of this bracket. But this, if I highlight it right here, it's kind of like this is our code is between these two, and it belongs to here. And then this class right here, everything is in this class, is this code right there, okay? And everything is in our first program, in our namespace, is everything from here to here, okay? So okay, so now that we covered this really weird way, but we just know that this is where our code goes. Okay, right here on top, I do want to talk just a little bit about this using systems right here. And basically what this is just a simple way to explain. The simplest way is this is our shortcut, okay? And the best way to explain, and see how all this like not highlighted, and if I basically delete this, and if I delete this, see how it changes right here, it changes color, and then if I put back right there, it highlights, changes this color right there. Well, it's because we're using this system as soon as we put that in there. Okay, if we remove this right there, this is gonna give us an error now. And the way to fix it is we could just put in here system dot and then console, and all of a sudden there is no more error. Okay, and the reason why it's just the simplest way to explain is these are the shortcuts. Okay, that's all it is. And then if we don't put the system in there, every single time we would write our right line code to display something, we would have to write system dot in front of it. So to do that, to actually save our typing, we would just delete it from here and we put it back right there, our using system, and that's it. If we don't want to, we can remove all these using systems right there, and our program still works fine. It doesn't create our program larger, just so you know. It doesn't create that larger. It just basically it's creating shortcuts for us. And later, when we learn more of these tools, we would have to add our own using systems here if we don't want to type all this. Okay, so that's about using systems. Okay, now I want to tell you one more thing before we go over this tutorial. And it's basically what we actually typed in here in our first program, console.writeLine.hello world, and actually, especially with the system in front of it, right, it would be even more confusing. And I want to just bring again another analogy that I want to point out is that this is basically a simple way to explain is that we're using something else in our system, okay, in the system of .NET, in this whole C# programming language or library, you should say, okay. And so the best way to explain, I'm gonna go to our Google Chrome and try to explain to you. And look at that, it's actually St. Patrick's Day. Look at that. Oh, isn't that cute? Oh, anyway, getting distracted always. Let's go to whiteboard. And I'm gonna explain to you. So basically what happens is that if we have this system, right, you would think about the whole system that we used. It has all these little things inside, right? All these little details or all those little things in them, and all of them have some code in there that's already written. And so these little sections right here, they're all doing something. Okay, and one of them, let's say this for instance, right, this is actually the one that we used right here. It's called System.Console.writeLine, and it's sitting somewhere in this whole system. Okay, and we access this by using those dots in between. So we technically access the console and we write line and we tell exactly what to write. One way to explain to you is think about the restaurant, right? You go to the restaurant and you have this guy or a girl, a cute girl, come and start serving you, right? And so you basically sit in there and they come and you tell them, hey, I want water, right? So, and she goes and brings you water. And so basically this, I want you to think of that as this whole thing is a person that can do certain things, action, and then exactly what they do. Okay, so think of this as a water. Okay, hello world is the water, and this is what they can do as bring, and this is who can bring. Okay, and this system, think of it, the restaurant. So in the restaurant there is a girl named Nicole, okay, or Brittany, and she can bring your stuff, right? She can bring you food, she can bring you water, she can bring you check, and this is exactly in this point we told her what to bring, right? So in this same we say, hey, bring us hello world, and that's how she brought us. So this is the simplest way how I could come up with. Okay, so if you get even more confused, I'm sorry, but we using basically Brittany in the restaurant, and we tell what to bring exactly using the system. Okay, just like here, this is the system, and there is a console in there, and we tell exactly there is a little piece of code right there to use that, and it basically when we run this and we press Control F5, there is a code inside there that determines everything, right? The color, the everything inside here. We didn't type anything, right? We didn't do anything to tell exactly what to do. Okay, it given us. Okay, we didn't have to specify the size of this window or anything. We're basically using inside the system of that. Okay, and so later on we're going to be using way more things, and the key point in the Visual Studio is that it has a lot of these systems inside, and the more we learn about them and the more you're gonna utilize your programming is when we don't have to create our own stuff. We'll be able to use written code, okay, that's already been written for us. We're just gonna be able to access that and use that. Okay, so this is pretty much it. I hope you guys understand to some degree. If you don't worry about it. We're gonna start actually practicing doing code inside right here inside this bracket. So we're never really gonna talk about for a while about all this stuff until later when we're actually gonna need to use them. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope I didn't make you more confusing, and I will see you in next tutorial.